Have you ever wondered what would happen if you kept traveling further and further into space, past the Earth, past the stars, past even the galaxies? Would you eventually reach the edge of the universe? Or would you just keep going forever? Because here's the strange truth. The universe does have a limit, but not the kind you can touch. There is a boundary beyond which we can never see. No matter how far we travel, no matter how advanced we become. And tonight, we are going on a journey, a slow, quiet journey, to the very edge of everything we can observe. But as we get closer, something unexpected happens. The universe doesn't become clearer, it becomes stranger. Before we drift deeper into the universe, if you enjoy calm, immersive space journeys like this, consider subscribing. It helps this channel grow and allows more people to experience these stories. Now, let's continue. Have you ever wondered what lies at the very edge of the universe? Not just the stars we can see, not just the galaxies we study, but the absolute boundary, where everything begins to fade into darkness. Tonight, we are going on a journey, a slow, drifting journey, to the very edge of the universe. And the deeper we go, the stranger things become. So, get comfortable and let your mind drift. Because this is not just a story about space. This is a story about how small we truly are. We begin here, on Earth, a small blue planet, quietly floating in space. From the surface, the universe feels distant, calm, almost peaceful. But step just a little further out, and everything begins to change. Imagine rising slowly. Above the clouds, the oceans shrink beneath you. Continents become shapes. And soon, Earth becomes just a glowing sphere, suspended in darkness. Around it, silence. No sound, no movement you can feel. Just space, stretching in every direction. As we move further away, we reach the moon, a lifeless world, covered in dust, marked by ancient impacts. From here, Earth looks fragile, bright blue, and incredibly rare, because as far as we know, this is the only place where life exists. We continue outward, past the moon, toward the inner planets. Mercury, scorched by the sun, where temperatures swing between extremes. Venus, hidden beneath thick clouds, its surface hot enough to melt metal. These are not worlds meant for life. They are reminders that even small changes can turn a planet into something hostile. And then, we pass Mars, a cold, silent desert, once that may have had rivers, perhaps even oceans. But today, it is dry, empty, and quiet, a world that lost its chance. As we drift further, the sun begins to shrink behind us. Its warmth fades, its light weakens, and ahead, the outer solar system begins. Jupiter appears first, a giant, so massive it could fit over 1,000 Earths inside it. Its surface is not solid, but a swirling ocean of storms, winds that never stop, clouds that stretch for thousands of kilometers. And at its center, pressures so intense, they crush everything. Then comes Saturn, surrounded by its rings, delicate yet vast, each ring made of ice and rock, moving in perfect balance. From a distance, it looks peaceful, but up close, it is a chaotic system, constantly shifting, constantly moving. Beyond Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, cold, distant worlds, where sunlight is weak and temperatures drop to unimaginable lows. Here, the sun is no longer dominant. It is just another star, among many. And finally, we reach the edge of our solar system, a region filled with icy remnants, left over from the formation of planets, small objects drifting slowly. This is the boundary, of everything we call home. But this is not the edge of the universe, not even close. Because beyond this point lies something far greater, the space between stars. The nearest star system is more than 4 light years away. That means, even at the speed of light, it would take over 4 years to reach it. And with our current technology, it would take tens of thousands of years. Space is not just big, it is unimaginably vast. As we leave our solar system behind, the darkness deepens, the stars grow sharper, more numerous, and slowly, we begin to see something incredible. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, a massive spiral of stars, stretching across the darkness, containing hundreds of billions of stars, and possibly even more planets. From the inside, it looks like a glowing band of light, but from the outside, it is a structure so large, so complex, that it is almost impossible to comprehend. And yet, this galaxy is just one of many. As we continue our journey, we move further out, beyond the Milky Way, into a region filled with other galaxies. Each one, a collection of stars, planets, and unknown worlds. Some are larger than our own, some are smaller, some are colliding, merging into new shapes. This is where the universe begins to feel different, not just bigger, but stranger. Because at these scales, distance loses meaning, time stretches, and the familiar rules we understand start to break down. But we are still not at the edge, not yet, because ahead of us lies something even more mysterious, a place where galaxies themselves begin to disappear. And as we continue, the light behind us fades. The universe grows quieter, darker, and far more unknown. And this is only the beginning of our journey. As we move further away from the Milky Way, something begins to change. The galaxies around us are no longer scattered randomly. They begin to form patterns. Slowly, almost quietly, we start to see structure. Clusters, groups of galaxies, held together by gravity. Some clusters contain hundreds, others thousands of galaxies, each one moving, each one drifting, in a delicate balance that has existed for billions of years. We pass through one of these clusters. Galaxies of different shapes surround us. Spirals like our own Milky Way, elliptical giants glowing softly, and irregular galaxies stretched and distorted. In the distance, 2 galaxies begin to merge, slowly colliding, their stars passing through each other, their shapes bending and stretching, a process that takes millions of years. Yet from here, it feels almost still. This is the universe, on a scale we rarely imagine. Not just stars, but entire galaxies interacting. As we continue, the clusters themselves begin to connect, not physically, but through something deeper, a hidden structure, a vast network, the cosmic web. It stretches across the universe, like an invisible framework, long filaments, connecting clusters of galaxies, and between them, vast empty spaces, called voids. From a distance, it almost looks like a living system, lines of light, interwoven across darkness. But what holds it together is not what we can see. Most of the universe is invisible. This unseen presence is called dark matter. It does not emit light. It does not reflect it. And yet, it shapes everything. Galaxies form within it. Clusters follow its structure. It is the hidden scaffolding of the cosmos. As we drift along one of these filaments, we begin to understand something strange. The visible universe is only a small part of what exists. Everything we see, stars, planets, galaxies, makes up only a tiny fraction. The rest remains unknown. And then, something even more unsettling appears. The galaxies ahead of us are moving away. At first, it's subtle, almost unnoticeable, but the further we look, the faster they seem to drift. This is not motion through space. This is space itself, expanding. The universe is growing, every moment, stretching outward, pushing galaxies further apart. And the further something is, the faster it moves away. This means there are parts of the universe we will never reach, no matter how far we travel, no matter how fast we go, because the space between us is expanding faster than we can cross it. As we continue our journey, the distances become overwhelming. Clusters fade behind us. Filaments stretch thinner. The light grows dimmer. We are entering a region of true emptiness. The voids. These are not just empty spaces. They are vast, almost completely devoid of galaxies. If you were here, you might travel for millions of light years and see nothing. No stars, no galaxies, just darkness. It is here that the universe feels truly silent. No structure, no movement, only the faint glow of distant light, barely reaching across unimaginable distances. And yet, even here, the expansion continues. Space itself, still stretching, still growing. As we drift deeper into this emptiness, a quiet realization begins to form. The universe is not just vast, it is becoming more empty over time. Galaxies are moving apart, clusters are separating, and slowly, everything is drifting away from everything else. In the far future, distant galaxies will disappear completely, not because they are gone, but because their light will never reach us again. They will fade beyond the observable universe, and we will be left with only what remains nearby. This is the nature of expansion, not violent, not sudden, but slow, inevitable, and absolute. As we continue forward, even the cosmic web begins to thin. The structure fades, the connections weaken, and ahead, there is less and less to see. The universe is not ending, but it is becoming harder to observe. Light stretches, wavelengths grow longer, energy fades. The deeper we go, the more distant everything becomes. And somewhere ahead, there lies a boundary, not a physical wall, but a limit, a horizon, beyond which we cannot see. Not because nothing exists, but because the light has not had enough time to reach us. This is the edge of the observable universe, and we are getting closer. But as we approach it, something unexpected happens. The universe does not become clearer. It becomes stranger, more uncertain, and far more mysterious than we imagined. Because what lies at the edge is not just distance, but the limits of what we can ever know. And as we move toward that boundary, we begin to question something deeper. If this is what we can see, what exists beyond it, that we never will. As we move closer to this invisible boundary, the universe begins to feel different, not because something suddenly changes, but because our understanding begins to fade. The light reaching us now is ancient, billions of years old. What we are seeing is not the universe as it is, but as it once was. Every galaxy, every distant glow, is a message from the past. The deeper we look, the further back in time we go, until eventually, we reach a point where galaxies no longer exist. There are no stars, no clusters, no familiar structures, only a faint, almost uniform glow. This is the oldest light in the universe. The cosmic microwave background, a soft radiation left over from the very beginning. It fills all of space, in every direction, and it is the earliest thing we can ever observe. At this point, we are no longer just traveling through space. We are traveling back in time. Back to when the universe was young, when everything was closer, denser, hotter, before galaxies formed, before stars ignited, before planets, like Earth, even existed. This light comes from a time just after the universe became transparent. Before that, even light could not move freely. The universe was too dense, too hot, too chaotic. But then, something changed. Space expanded, temperatures dropped, and suddenly, light was able to travel. That moment left behind this faint glow, still visible, even now. It is not bright, not dramatic, but it is everywhere. A quiet reminder of where everything began. As we drift through this ancient light, a strange feeling emerges. There is nothing ahead of us that we can see. No new galaxies, no new stars, only this fading signal, stretching across the cosmos. And beyond it, darkness, not empty space, but a region we cannot observe, because the light from beyond that point has not reached us, and perhaps never will. This is the true edge, not of the universe itself, but of what is visible, the observable universe. Everything beyond this is hidden. It may be infinite. It may continue endlessly, filled with galaxies, just like the ones we have seen. Or it may be something entirely different. We don't know. And that uncertainty is part of what makes this journey so profound. Because for all our knowledge, for all our discoveries, there are still limits, boundaries we cannot cross. As we pause here, at the edge of observation, we begin to understand something deeper. The universe is not just vast, it is partially unknowable. There are questions that may never be answered, not because we lack intelligence, but because reality itself has limits. And yet, even standing at this edge, we have come incredibly far. From a small planet, orbiting an ordinary star, we have explored distances that stretch across billions of light years. We have uncovered structures, hidden patterns, and ancient signals from the beginning of time. And still, there is more. Because while we cannot see beyond this horizon, we can imagine it. We can theorize. We can wonder. And perhaps that is enough. But before we end this journey, there is one final thought. A quiet realization that changes everything. If the universe has an edge, if there is a limit to what we can see, then where? Are we within it? Are we near the center? Or just somewhere, among countless other points, all equally distant, from something we cannot define? The answer may not be what we expect. And it leads us to one final perspective, one that brings this entire journey back home, to Earth. And now, after traveling billions of light years, after passing stars, galaxies, and the very limits of what we can observe, we begin to turn back. Not physically, but in perspective. Because the further we went, the clearer something became. This journey was never just about distance. It was about understanding where we are. In a universe this vast, location becomes meaningless. There is no center, no special point, no place where everything began, from a single direction. Every observer, in every galaxy, sees the universe expanding away from them. Which means, from any point, it appears as though you are at the center. This is one of the strangest truths of the cosmos. There is no edge you can stand on, no boundary you can touch, no direction you can travel that leads to an end, because the universe does not expand into something. It expands within itself. Space is not inside the universe. Space is the universe. And as it grows, every point moves away from every other point. So when we ask, where are we? The answer is unexpected. We are not near the center. We are not near the edge. We are simply here, on a small planet, orbiting an ordinary star, in a quiet corner of one galaxy, among billions. And yet, from here, we can see all of this. We can observe the cosmic web, measure the expansion of space, detect the faint glow of the early universe, and imagine what lies beyond what we can see. That alone is extraordinary. Now imagine this again. Everything we explored, every galaxy, every cluster, every distant signal, exists within the observable universe, a region defined not by a physical wall, but by time, because light takes time to travel, and the universe has a finite age, which means there are regions so distant that their light has not yet reached us, and may never reach us. Those regions still exist, but for us, they are forever hidden. This creates a quiet boundary, not of space, but of knowledge, a limit to what we can ever observe. And yet, even within this limit, the scale is overwhelming. Hundreds of billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars, each star potentially surrounded by planets. Worlds, like ours, are completely different. And somewhere among them, there may be other observers, looking out, just as we are, asking the same questions, wondering about the same edge. But no matter where they are, they would see something similar, a universe expanding, a horizon they cannot cross, and a vast unknown beyond it. This symmetry is not a coincidence. It is a fundamental property of the universe, that no place is more important than another. No location is the true center, and no observer has a complete view. We are all seeing only a part, a small window into something far greater. And yet, within that small window, we have discovered so much. From ancient light to invisible matter to the expansion of space itself. Each discovery bringing us closer, not to the edge, but to understanding. And still, the biggest question remains, not about distance, not about size, but about meaning. In a universe this vast, where galaxies drift apart and light fades over time, what does it mean to exist here, on this small planet, in this brief moment of cosmic history? Perhaps the answer is not something we find at the edge, but something we realize along the way, that even in an infinite universe, a single point of awareness is enough to give it meaning. And that point is us. And as we sit with that thought, something begins to feel different, not in the universe, but in the way we see it. Because after traveling so far, after reaching the limits of what can be observed, a quiet realization begins to form. The edge of the universe is not a place. It is a perspective. We search for a boundary, something final, something absolute. But what we found instead was a limit to what we can see. Not the end of everything, but the end of observation. And beyond that, possibility. Imagine this. Right now, in this moment, there are regions of the universe so distant that no information from them will ever reach us. Not because they are too far, but because space itself is expanding too quickly. Light leaving those regions today will never arrive here. They are not hidden. They are unreachable. And that changes everything. Because it means what we know of the universe is only a fraction of what truly exists. A small window in an endless reality. And yet, Within this window, we have built meaning. We have measured distances, mapped galaxies, and traced the history of the cosmos back to its earliest light, all from a small planet orbiting a quiet star. Now imagine shrinking this journey back down from billions of light years to a single galaxy, from that galaxy to a single star system, from that system to a single planet. Earth, everything we have seen, all the vastness, all the complexity, exists far beyond this one world. And yet, this is where awareness exists, where questions are asked, where meaning is created. The universe does not observe itself. We do. Through us, it becomes something more than space and time. It becomes something experienced. And that may be the most important part of this entire journey. Because no matter how far we travel, no matter how much we discover, the universe will always be larger, more complex, and more mysterious than we expect. There will always be another distance, another layer, another unknown. And perhaps that is not something to solve, but something to accept. A reminder that exploration does not end at the edge. It continues in the questions we keep asking, in the curiosity that drives us forward, and in the quiet moments, like this one, where we stop and simply look up. Because even though we cannot reach the edge, even though we cannot see everything, we are still part of it, a small piece of something infinite. And maybe that is enough. And now, as this journey begins to slow, we arrive at something unexpected. Not another galaxy, not another distant structure, but a question, one that has been quietly waiting since the very beginning. If the universe is so vast, so endless, then why does it feel so quiet? Because when we look out into space, we do not see signs of others. No signals, no clear evidence, no voices echoing back. This is known as the Great Silence, a universe filled with billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, and yet, as far as we can tell, we are alone, or at least, we have not found anyone else yet. And that creates a strange contrast. On one hand, the universe is full of possibilities. Countless planets, endless environments, conditions that could support life in ways we may not even understand. And on the other hand, silence. No confirmation, only questions. Some believe life may be rare, that the conditions required are so specific, so delicate, that they almost never happen. Others believe life could be everywhere, but separated by distances so vast that communication becomes impossible. Signals fading before they ever arrive. Civilizations rising and disappearing in different moments of cosmic time, never overlapping. And then there is another possibility, that intelligent life is simply very quiet, choosing not to broadcast, or unable to, across such immense distances. We do not know which is true, and perhaps we are still too early in the timeline of the universe to find out, because the universe is still young in its own scale. Stars will continue to form for billions, even trillions of years. New planets will emerge, new possibilities for life, long after we are gone, which means we may not be late or alone, but simply early, standing near the beginning of something far greater. Now imagine this again. All the distances we traveled, all the structures we explored, all the limits we reached, and still, we are only seeing a fraction of what exists. There may be entire regions filled with life, far beyond our observable horizon. Worlds with their own skies, their own oceans, their own observers, asking the same questions, looking out toward their own edge of the universe, and just like us, wondering if anyone else is out there. This thought does not make the universe feel empty. It makes it feel shared. Even if we never meet, even if we never communicate, we may not be the only ones to experience it. And that changes the meaning of everything we have seen, because this journey was not just about distance or scale or the limits of observation. It was also about perspective, about understanding where we stand in something so vast, it almost feels beyond comprehension. And yet, we are here, aware of it, able to imagine it, able to explore it, even if only through thought. And perhaps that is what truly matters. Not reaching the edge, but understanding that the journey itself has already taken us further than we ever expected. So as we slowly drift back from the farthest limits of observation, back toward familiar stars, back toward our galaxy, and eventually back toward Earth, one final feeling remains, a quiet sense of wonder. Because in a universe this vast, this silent, this mysterious, we are not separate from it. We are part of it, a small, thinking, questioning part of something infinite. And even if we never reach the edge, even if we never see beyond it, we have already discovered something far more important, that the universe is not just something we look at. It is something we are within. And as we return, slowly, from the farthest reaches of the universe, back through galaxies, back through stars, something begins to settle. Not a final answer, but a deeper awareness. Because this journey was never really about reaching an edge. It was about understanding how vast everything truly is, and how small we are within it. And yet, that smallness does not make us insignificant. In fact, it may be the opposite, because in all the distance we traveled, in all the silence we encountered, there was one thing that stood out more than anything else: awareness, the ability to observe, to question, to imagine. The universe, on its own, is just space and time and energy unfolding. But through us, it becomes something more. It becomes something experienced. Now imagine this. Every star we passed, every galaxy we observed, every distant signal we followed, exists whether we see it or not. But meaning only exists where it is understood. And that understanding exists here, on this small planet, in this brief moment, in this vast timeline. We often think of the universe as something out there, something distant, something separate from us. But the truth is, we are not outside of it. We are inside it, made from the same elements, formed in the same processes, connected to everything we have seen. The atoms in our bodies were once part of stars, forged in their cores, released in their deaths, and eventually assembled into something capable of thought. That alone is extraordinary, because it means the universe is not just vast, it is also capable of becoming aware of itself through us. Now as we come back, closer to home, back into our galaxy, back toward our solar system, everything feels different. The same stars, the same planets, the same sky, but seen with a new perspective. Because now we understand just how rare this moment is. A moment where the universe can be observed. A moment where questions can be asked. A moment where meaning can exist. And that moment is temporary. Stars will fade. Galaxies will drift apart. The universe will continue to expand, becoming colder, darker, and more empty over time. But right now, in this era, In this small window of cosmic history, there is light, there are stars, there are worlds, and there is awareness. And that combination may be one of the rarest things in the entire universe. So as this journey comes to an end, not at the edge, but here, where it began, we are left with something simple. Not an answer, but a feeling, a quiet sense that even in something infinite, even in something we may never fully understand, our existence still matters. Not because we are at the center, not because we are special in location, but because we are here to witness it, to experience it, to ask questions that may never be fully answered, and to continue looking outward with curiosity, because the edge of the universe is not something we reach. It is something we explore again and again, with every new question, with every new discovery, with every moment of wonder. And perhaps that journey never truly ends. And now we arrive, not at a destination, but at a quiet pause. Because after everything we have seen, after traveling from Earth to the edge of the observable universe, there is one final layer to understand. Not about space, but about time. Because the universe is not just vast in distance, it is vast in age. Everything we have explored exists within a timeline that stretches billions of years into the past and even further into the future. When we looked at distant galaxies, we were not seeing them as they are now. We were seeing them as they once were. Light takes time to travel, and the further something is, the older the image becomes. This means, when we look deep into space, we are looking back in time. Some of the galaxies we observed may no longer even exist in the same form today. They may have changed, merged, or evolved into something completely different. And yet, their past is still reaching us. Now imagine going even further, back beyond galaxies, back beyond stars, back toward the very beginning. The universe was once incredibly small, incredibly hot, incredibly dense, a state where space and time, as we understand them, did not exist in the same way. And then, expansion began. Not an explosion into space, but an expansion of space itself. Everything stretching outward, cooling, forming the structures we see today. From that moment to now, billions of years have passed. Stars were born, lived, and died. Galaxies formed, collided, and evolved. And somewhere along that timeline, on a small planet, life appeared, and eventually, awareness. Now imagine moving forward, into the future, far beyond our current time. The universe continues to expand. Galaxies drift further apart. Stars slowly run out of fuel. New stars form less frequently. The night sky begins to change. Distant galaxies fade beyond visibility. Over immense periods of time, even the brightest structures begin to disappear. The universe becomes darker, colder, quieter. This is not something that happens suddenly. It is a slow transition, a gradual shift from a universe filled with light to one where light becomes rare. And eventually, only faint remnants remain. But even then, the universe does not end. It continues, expanding, changing, existing in forms we may never fully understand. Now bring your focus back to the present moment. Right now, we exist in a time where the universe is active. Stars are still shining. Galaxies are still visible. Energy is still flowing. And awareness exists. This moment is not just another point in time. It is a rare window, A period where the universe can be observed, understood, and experienced, before the distant future, where much of it will fade from view. And that makes this moment quietly extraordinary, because we are not just observers. We are observers at a very specific time, a time where the universe reveals itself more clearly than it ever will again. So when we think about the edge of the universe, we often imagine distance. But there is another kind of edge, an edge in time, a boundary between what we can still observe and what will eventually disappear, beyond reach. And just like before, this is not something we can travel to. It is something we exist within, a fleeting moment in an endless timeline. And as this journey comes closer to its final moments, one last realization begins to settle. We did not reach the edge of space or time, but we came close to understanding it. And sometimes that is enough. And now, as this journey comes to its final moment, everything grows quiet again. Not empty, but still. Because after traveling across space and time and thought, there is nowhere further we need to go. Not because the universe ends, but because we have reached something deeper. Understanding. We began with a question about the edge of the universe, a distant boundary, somewhere far beyond the stars. But along the way, that idea began to change. The edge was never a place we could arrive at. It was never a wall or a final point waiting to be discovered. Instead, it revealed something else, that the universe is not something with clear limits. It is something that stretches beyond what we can see, beyond what we can reach, and even beyond what we can fully understand. And yet, within that endless vastness, there is this moment, this small, quiet point of awareness. Here, now, on Earth, everything we explored, every galaxy, every structure, every ancient signal, exists far beyond this place. But meaning exists here, in the ability to observe, to wonder, to imagine. The universe does not ask questions. We do. And in doing so, we give shape to something that would otherwise remain silent. Now imagine this one last time. All the distance we traveled, from Earth to the edge of the observable universe, was not just a journey outward. It was also a journey inward, toward understanding, toward perspective, toward something simple, but powerful, that we are not separate from the universe. We are part of it, formed by it, existing within it, and capable of reflecting on it. And that connection is what makes this journey meaningful. Not the distance, not the scale, but the awareness that exists within it. Because even in an infinite universe, even in something without clear boundaries, a single point of awareness is enough to give it meaning. And that point is here, now as everything slowly fades, back into stillness, back into silence. One final thought remains. The edge of the universe is not something we find at the end of a journey. It is something we approach every time we look up, every time we ask a question, every time we try to understand something greater than ourselves. And in that sense, the journey never truly ends. It continues in curiosity, in wonder, in the quiet awareness that we are part of something far beyond what we can see. So as we return, not to a place, but to this moment, there is nothing left to reach, only something left to feel. A calm, quiet understanding that in a universe without edges, we have still found something meaningful. And that is enough. If this journey made you pause and see the universe a little differently, then you're exactly the kind of mind this channel is made for. Subscribe for more slow, deep explorations of space. And if you stayed till the end, comment Beyond the Edge, because very few people actually make it this far.